WGN Chicago.
Next Star Media Group station.
Hey everybody, Tom Barnes, Chicago Scene. Do you recognize this building? You might have driven by it, didn't even know what it was, but it is the clock tower of the old Pullman factory here in the Pullman neighborhood on the far south side of Chicago. It's also the first ever national park in Chicago.
How about that? The first ever national park in Chicago. That is so awesome. 7:36 with John Landecker, and speaking of awesome, the Pullman House Tour is getting ready to kick off in October, and to tell us about it, the spokesperson for the House Tour, Alfonso Quiroz, is with us. How are you? I think I got your last name right finally.
Yes, Quiroz, but you got it close. I've been told a lot worse, so don't worry about it.
Okay, well, hey, who hasn't? You know what I'm saying? So this is just so fantastic. Because, basically the Pullman, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Pullman area in the beginning started out, if I can use the term, pretty much as a company town, for lack of a better description. Would that seem to fit?
Yeah, that's exactly right, John. And it was built in 1881 by George Pullman, who created luxurious railroad cars, and he decided to build a factory and a whole town to house the thousands of workers that built the train cars. And what's happening is that every year, every October, we have our annual historic Pullman House Tour in Pullman National Historical Park. This year it's going to be on October 12th and 13th. People can get their tickets at PullmanHouseTour.com. And basically what this is that it's one weekend every year that we have this, and Pullman residents open their homes to the public. And these are 140-year-old landmark homes that range from executive mansions to 14-foot wide workers' cottages to multi-unit apartments, all with the charm and uniqueness that is part of the Pullman experience. And what people can do is when they buy their tickets and come on October 12th and 13th, they can see how current residents have adapted these homes for modern living.
Yes, indeed, and that in itself must be quite an achievement when you just told us how old these homes are, and they're still functioning, and families, well, not only functioning, of course, but I mean upgraded, and families are living in them, and the whole area is still vibrant. In fact, maybe even more so than ever now that it's a national park.
That's right. We are a National Historical Park, Chicago's first national park. We're really proud of that. And what the National Park Service has done is they've come in and they have, with the help from the state and other partners, they've completely renovated the historic clock tower, which in the late 90s completely or almost burnt down. Wow. And they've completely renovated it, and now it is the Welcome Center and the Visitor Center for the National Park Service. And you can go there every day. It's free. You can go and tour, and there's exhibits there where you can learn about the story about Pullman, about the homes, about the Pullman strike, about the Pullman porters and all the other workers that work there. But this weekend, on October 12th and 13th, is the historic Pullman House Tour. And as I said, people can get their tickets at PullmanHouseTour.com. And what we've done is that we've set up about several homes where people could walk in and they could see how people have adapted these historic homes. Now, what's interesting here is that the homes were not all the same. The homes that were close to the factory and around the park were larger, and those were for more executives for the Pullman company. And as they got further on the other end of the neighborhood, they were smaller homes for unskilled laborers. Now this, you got to sort of step into a time machine here and go back to 1880, where people were coming in from all over the world. They were artisans that came in to create these luxurious train cars that were a hit. And they traveled people all across the globe and across the United States. And they were allowed to rent these homes from Mr. Pullman, and they still stand, and people still live in them, and they still raise families in them. And we have got a range of these wonderful, wonderful houses from, we've got a very, a large executive home along 111th Street, all the way down to, smaller homes. But one of the interesting things that we've got, John, this year is that along 111th Street, one of those executive homes, there's actually a third floor ballroom. At some point, the residents decided to put in a ballroom. I mean, and it's not a ballroom. I know it's crazy to think of, but it's not a very large ballroom. But what they had is they had a section in there where you could put a small orchestra, and there could be area for people to dance in. And that is one of the homes that's on tour now. Another really great one of the homes that's on tour is one of the homes that's owned by an organization called the Pullman House Project, and they call it the Honeymoon Row Unit. And this is an organization that has gone and restored homes to original period times. And so this one is restored back to 1880, where you could walk in and you walk right back into 1880. Now, this is a time where you didn't have a bathroom in your apartment. There were bathrooms on the exterior in the hallway, and there's still one left there, and you could see what it was like to actually have to use the facilities. So we've got all of these homes, including one of the Langley block houses, where it is basically it's been renovated to be housing for artists. And there's a gallery that's going to be open for people that are on the house tour that is going to show a 5-year retrospective of a 2019 book called Southern Exposure by architect critic Lee Bay. And they've got images of notable architecture from across the city's south side. It's really fantastic. So you've got a number of homes that are going to be open from 11 to 5 on October 12th and 13th, and where people could go in from 11 to 5, as I said, and they could tour the homes, and there's also places where they can go eat. There's going to be music available. We've got the whole thing planned. The whole event is actually sponsored by 2 organizations. It's sponsored by the Historic Pullman Foundation and the Pullman Civic Organization. And, John, the really great thing about this is that a large portion of the proceeds go to grants to help owners restore the exterior of their homes so that these homes can last another 140 years.
That is fantastic. You mentioned something a couple of minutes ago that's still in my mind here, and that is you were talking about them building the homes, and that there were these huge homes that were near the factory that were for executives. And then as you got further and further away from the factory, the homes became smaller, and they were for labor. But they were still relatively close, weren't they? I mean, the idea being, of living, I'm trying to picture in modern day, you have the president of your company, who's an executive and does very well and has a large place, and then, well, not that far away, just a few blocks away perhaps, are the dwellings for the workers.
That's right. I mean, George Pullman did not live in the neighborhood, but all other executives, or most of them, did. And the thing that made these houses so revolutionary is that they were all made of brick. They all had good ventilation. They all had good light. They all had indoor plumbing. This was not done in 1880. And this was one of the first planned industrial communities that had these sort of amenities. And what's amazing is that when people go to the house tour, where they can get their tickets at PullmanHouseTour.com, they can see how people have renovated and restored these homes, either to go back all the way to 1880. Some of them have restored them or renovated them to be modern. And you won't believe what they've done to these homes, where it looks like they've got, it's a modern home with artwork, but you could still see that it's an original Pullman home, and you could still see some of those really original, unique details.
This sounds absolutely fantastic. This again is Saturday, October 12th, or Sunday, October 13th, correct? That's right.
The Historic Pullman House Tour is on October 12th and 13th from 11 to 5. The tickets are $27 at the door, $21 for advanced ticket sales. That's a savings of over 20% if you buy your tickets before October 10th. So go to PullmanHouseTour.com to get your tickets. On Sunday, October 13th, we're also having a classic car show where we're going to have upwards of 80 vehicles, classic cars, right in the neighborhood that people can go see.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being with us, and I know it's going to be you're going to have a great success. Thanks for being with us.
John, thank you very much. Have a good night.
You too. 745, 720, WGN.